We will start with two presenters, Zoltán Guth and Gergely Schmidt. Zoltán has over 10 years of experience with Google Cloud and dozens of customers where he helped to optimize performance and cost in multiple areas of GCP, while Gergely has over 10 years of experience in product management from big enterprises to startups, a true believer of the dual-track product development method. The stage is yours, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I'm kind of a shy speaker, so let me know if I'm not that loud enough. Yeah, let's jump right into that. Yeah, so you can read it again, what our presenter just said. So yeah, hi, nice to meet you. I'm the Chief Product Officer of Rabbit by Aliz. Aliz is a service company specialized in Google Cloud, and Rabbit is our first product that we have launched, soft launched actually like 2 weeks ago. So we are still in early stages.
Can you be louder, or can you
Thank you.
turn on the speakers?
Sure, thank you. I can be louder because there is no speakers here, so I need to be. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for the live stream. Yeah, so okay. Is it better now? If okay, so all right, thank you. Yeah, so Rabbit is something that we have launched today, some weeks ago, and that is something that we are going to demonstrate to you at the end of our presentation. But Zoltán, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, I'm Zoltán. I'm the CTO of the Rabbit, and mainly I will talk about the technical part of the product.
Okay. So let me start. Let's just give some minutes for the newcomers to sit down then.
Here you can.
There are plenty of seats available still. Yeah, please don't drink my water, I will need it. Okay. Cool. All right. More? All right, okay. Everyone, just some 30 minutes to everyone sits down. Okay. First, let me ask you a question that who led the digital transformation of your company? Was it the CEO, the CTO, or the COVID-19 in the last years? Well, so who had the CEO? Hands up. CTO. COVID. Yeah. Okay. So my guess was right. Okay. So I guess a lot of people has started to use cloud services and so on, and it was actually quite a big bump. I tried to dig deep some statistics about that since it's a data conference. The best one what I found is the Eurostat, which tries to collect all these percentage of enterprises who uses cloud computing, and yeah, it's not the best, but as you can see, it's a pretty big jump from the green to the purple one, which is actually from 2018. That was the latest data point, and then the next one was 2020. So that's the big jump when 10% of increase happened in the cloud use of cloud in enterprises in the EU, in the EU average. Do you want to sit down, maybe? Maybe just okay. Come on. There are plenty of seats. Okay. So year over year on average, it was like a 7% increase in the cloud adoption. So a lot of you has, I guess, already working in the cloud, but this is something that is happening like in front of our eyes, that the cloud adoption is growing. So but where are we going from the cloud? It's from the on-prem, right? So cloud is critical from every business who starts to use it. Okay. So the traditional procurement. So what's the problems with the cloud? The traditional procurement silos are broken down with cloud, right? Because there are teams who needs their own cloud resources that needs to work on, um, and and since the cloud adoption was once the CTO's own purview, then the location and science fair projects are their own projects. It was something that kind of grow out of the business at some point. And what you buy in the cloud is variable, right? So you can have infinite amount of resources, unlimited capabilities to run computing on the cloud. And so the problem with that is with the cloud is that it's decentralized, it's variable, and it's scalable. It's also good, but it's also bad. So it's a two-edged sword, right? So, okay. So what happened here is that the cloud is basically an an API for engineers to spend money, right? So if you're thinking about that, this is what is happening. And so these huge amount of resources that is available to these engineers, which is really good from the business standpoint, because it's faster, it's more agile, and so on. But the inefficiency easily can become a target on the IT's back, on the CTO's back, right? Because in a downturn might come, a recession might come, and actually that's a fear of recession that is right now what we are in right now. So a lot of cost cutting is happening, I guess, in some of your companies, or hiring freezes. Yeah, it's from Twitter. The one of the guy, the pragmatic engineer guy, collected this from September and February. The big tech, they stopped. They had a huge hiring freeze. So there is a huge fear of recession, and so these inefficiencies are going to add up at some point as well. So this is when this cloud FinOps evolved. This is how it evolved out from this whole mess that basically happened in front of our eyes. So finally, I'm describing what is FinOps in our presentation title. So FinOps is not a shorthand for financial operations. It's a portmanteau of finance and DevOps. So it's kind of a mixture of a mixture of these words, a wordplay, if you wish. So this is a direct response to the stimulus of the cloud. It happened during these days of when these big cloud migration happened. There was this promises from migrating from the on-prem to the cloud, that if we migrate to the cloud, then we can have like way more and faster resources, and we can deliver value faster and so on. But then it becomes like a really huge cost, right? So at some point, so FinOps is this framework that came out, is basically this, in the simplest terms, it brings financial accountability to the variable spend model of the cloud. So what are the principles of this framework? Collaboration. I mean, do I really need to describe it? Right? So collaboration in companies, it's like essential. So finance and technology teams need to work together as the cloud operates on a per resource per second basis. And teams need to work together continuously to improve efficiency and innovation. Ownership. So individual feature and product teams, they need to be empowered to make their own usage of the cloud against their budget. So everyone should have their own budget, and everyone should be able to track their own budget in the cloud. How much resources do they get, and how much resources do they burn when they are releasing a new feature or they're adding a new feature. And decentralized decision making is also like an essential on this ownership, because of the resource usage and optimization, because this is once once you make the decisions as close as to the makers of the code of the or the product, then you could have the best possible outcome of that. So I was talking about decentralizing, but then a centralized team is needed as well for these kind of efforts, because because an executive buy-in is required for these kind of efforts to be practiced and processes to be implemented. If you don't get a priority to reduce the costs or make more efficient application, if it's not a priority because, I don't know, maybe you are in a growth stage startup, then it's not going to be a priority. You won't be able to work on it because, you know, it's still an effort. So the centralized team also needs to govern and control the committed use discounts, the reserved instances, the volume and custom discounts with cloud providers that they need to, if they need to make these deals happen in a centralized way for the whole company. So engineers do not need to like think about these kind of financial decisions that they need to make. So the reports should be accessible and timely. What does that mean? Because so visibility always drives better cloud utilization. If it's visible that how much money is my feature costs, then I can act on it, right? So I'm not like I'm not like in the dark and trying to figure out how to make these kind of things right. So that's a really important thing. It's not some Excel sheet that needs to happen in some kind of finance guys. It needs to be visible for the engineers so they can like have the data to make the magic happen, to do efficient application work. Create, monitor, and improve the real-time financial forecasting and planning. That's also something that should be widely available as reports. Decisions are driven by the business value of the cloud. So making continuous trade-offs and decisions among cost, quality, and speed. This is all the reports and all the other stuff is all about that. You should be able to do these kind of decisions consciously if it's available to you and do it. Taking advantage of the cloud, of the variable cost model of the cloud. Where am I? I need some help on this one. So yeah, the variable cost model of the cloud should be viewed as an opportunity, not as not a risk. Because the agile and iterative planning can be also something that is a nice addition, but with this cloud you have the capability to make these big things that you can use. You can make continuous and small adjustment in the cloud usage and optimizations. This is really important. So when you, I guess, if I was like good enough, then I guess you were thinking about, okay, how can we start doing that? I'm pretty sure that if you ask one of your peer engineers or your engineers, then I'm pretty sure that they are going to have some kind of dashboard already available in the company that tries to monitor and tries to gather the costs of some parts of the company. And there are these, and because of that, there are these maturity levels that that can happen with companies already who are trying to do these FinOps related frameworks. So if you're considering like thinking about this, you might be surprised if you ask around that you might not be starting it from the scratch, because there might be already some dashboards around, but as I mentioned earlier, there might not be the priority given to these efforts yet, as of yet. So yeah, it's quite a journey, but the end of the day, if you are like if you're at the end, the ultimate goal is that you could use your costs the cost that you basically not spend, you can reinvest into the cloud, and you can reinvest into new features, into new ideas that you would like to try out. So that's the basic that's the basic idea here, that using that cost reduction and that cost consciousness, you can have these costs reinvested instead of like spending it for like in an inefficient way. So FinOps is not just about optimization. It has like three big pillars. The optimization is something that you start with, and then you need to implement some controls over it, and then you need to have these reports and this information available, widely available for these people that participates in these parts. And so what we have figured out here with Zoltán is that with the optimization is something can happen with in a consultancy manner. So you ask some company to do some kind of optimization, they do that, they review your system, they come back to you, they give you a huge documentation about that, and then you decide to implement it or not. Let's just say you implement it, and then after 6 months, what's going to happen? You're going to be at the same place as you've been before the consultancy started to do the optimization. And this is when the control and the inform part comes in. So if you have the necessary controls also implemented with the optimizations, then the costs are not going to be like going off the roof. They would be controlled, and there are going to be the borders and controls in to grab these kind of problems before they happening, and then you can be informed about these kind of decisions even before they are going to happen. And this is what we are going to do here, is that Zoltán is going to give you an example, a case study, how this looks like in the real world.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this first session is too small to talk about all of the things around Google Cloud. This is the reason, and also because of this is a data conference, why we have focused only on BigQuery. And earlier, as a consultancy project, we worked for an Indonesian e-commerce company, which is pretty big. To give you a little bit context, they have more than 100 million monthly active users. Let's jump into the details, because at that time we were able to save them $1,000, which was 22% of their BigQuery cost. And as Gergely mentioned earlier, when we are speaking about the cost optimization on a cloud, then there are typically two things: the rate optimization, which is about the price. You are trying to find a better option for your pricing model. And this is the case what we did here, because in BigQuery there are two types of pricing model: the on-demand and the flat rate pricing. You can choose which one you want to use. I will talk a little bit later about the details. And here, this was the major part of the optimization, because they were able to save $9,000 there. And the other part is when you are using different resources, and you want to somehow optimize it, because you can have unused or underutilized instances. And here in this example, they had a lot of unused tables, and based on that, they were able to they can delete or even move it to, for instance, in cloud storage, because they can save cost if they do so. So they were able to save $1,000 more. But I want to give you a little bit context here, because I'm pretty sure that all of you understand that what $10,000 means. But if we are speaking about big companies, enterprises, they are spending millions of dollars each month in their cloud spend. And this is the reason why I brought here the idea from Spotify, who implemented this logic in their backstage. So what does it mean in this context? If you save this amount of money, then you can buy more than 12,000 beers, or even you can have almost 1,000 ice creams. But if you want to go back a little bit to the technical part, then you can have 3 more engineers. I guess you are curious what happened there in this case, because this is a use case. So mainly, we had just a couple of beers as a successful project closing, and as far as I know, they hired 3 more data engineers. Okay, this is about the use case. I will come back a little bit later to give you more details. But if we want to understand the FinOps with BigQuery, then I summarize the different points what you can do there. Basically, there are the 3 pillars that was mentioned by Gergely. You have to inform somehow your team with dashboards, with information about the different usage, how you are using your cloud. And here, the pricing model is one, as I mentioned earlier, the on-demand and the flat rate pricing. And the other one is the resource optimization, because there you can optimize your query and the table usage as well. And when we are speaking a little bit about the operate part, when you are operating your instances, then we can speak about the cost control, that there are soft and also hard activities that you can do if you want to control the cost, for instance, with monitoring alerts and daily quota. So let me quickly go through on each and give you some more details. What can you do? So first of all, about the pricing model in BigQuery. So there are 2 different ways how you can do, and unfortunately, it's not that easy to compare those different pricing models together, because if you are having on-demand pricing, then basically you are it's really simple, because you are charged for the amount of the data that you are querying will use. In the other hand, in this case, you don't have to care about the different computation resources, because you can use it ad hoc or on-demand basis as you run the query. And this is a good thing when we are speaking about cloud. But on the other hand, it's possible that you can commit for different resources what you want to use in BigQuery. This is called by them slots. So you can call slots, which is about CPU, memory, networking, and so on. And in this case, you can buy hundreds of slots on monthly basis, or even you can commit for 1 year. In this case, you can get a bit discount. But it can happen that during the day you can have different peaks. And in this case, they have introduced the flex slots, when you can just buy additional slots when you need for 2 minutes as well, for instance. But let me go back to the use case that I showed you earlier. What happened there? Because what we saw, that they run a lot of on-demand queries. They queried more than 5,000 terabytes per month. And the good news here is that in BigQuery, you are able to analyze the slot usage, because when you are on the on-demand pricing, you are also able to check based on the history your query slot usage. So this is what you can see here in the chart. With the blue line, you can see their actual usage. And with the red line, you can see the recommendation, what we have recommended to them. So to summarize this, they can buy a few hundred of slots on monthly or even on yearly basis for a higher discount. And as you can see, there are a couple of peaks. So basically, they can buy flex slots there. And only with this change, they were able to save $9,000. This was really easy because it doesn't affected any engineering team. And also it doesn't affect the performance, because here another question came into the picture. This is the performance, because you can say that, okay, I want to buy a little bit less slots, but in this case, your query may will, so it will run a little bit, it will take more time to run it. Okay, what about the resource optimization? So what I see during the consultation periods, those are the three main pillars in BigQuery, what you can check. Because usually you are running queries, you are having accounts who are running those queries, and you have tables where you are storing the data and you are running the queries against. So when we are speaking about the queries, then it's good to know to check the most expensive queries. What I see that most of our customers did that, so it's kinda typical thing. But the other one is maybe something that can be a good idea for you as well, if you are not doing that. Mainly that if you are running data pipelines, then there you are running the same query multiple times, but maybe with different parameters. So in this case, what you can do is that just filter out the parameter part of the query and group the similar queries together, because in this case, you can see that what is the exact amount of money that you are spending for each query, because it can happen that you are running a query multiple times a day or in an hour. And in this case, you can optimize the query because you can see that what are the top queries that cost the most for you. But also, it happened when we showed this information for a couple of our customers. Then they see the frequency that, okay, maybe we should think about it, and we shouldn't run that query that often. What it was in the dashboards. Accounts, yeah, it's also important to see that who are the top accounts, even on individual level and also on service account level. What about the tables? In the tables, you have an option to partition or cluster a table, and this is also some important topic because, as I mentioned earlier, you are paid for the amount of the data that you are reading from BigQuery, if you are on the on-demand pricing. But if you are on the flat rate, then also it can be important, because in this case you can use less slots, which is at the end which can help for cost optimization as well. And as I mentioned earlier in the use case for the tables, it can be a mess after a while. If you are working for a big company, then more probably, and it can be a useful thing to check the last time when you read or when you are written into a table, and based on that you can see that you whether delete the table or you can move it to cloud storage. Let me give you a little bit context about this. When does it make sense to think about this optimization strategy? Because what you can see here is that there are different amount of storage that you can store in BigQuery. Here you can see the BigQuery cost in the first column, and the other one you can see the alternative option that you can move the data into Google Cloud Storage. But in Google Cloud Storage, there are multiple storage classes. I'm showing you here one, the code line and the archive one, because it's a technical and also a business decision that what should you do here, because if you are moving the data into that cloud storage, then you have to pay a higher amount of data access cost, and also there is a penalty that you can't delete the data from the code line, for instance, within 90 days, or you can delete the data in 1 year in the archive, because if you are doing so, then you have to pay for that. And this is the reason why it is cheaper. It is designed for archive data that you are not touching only once a year, let's say. And to put it into context, you can see that if you are having 100 terabyte data that you are not using, then you can save $300 if you are moving it to code line, for instance, or you can move it to GCS archive. You can save there $760. If you are doing so, if you are moving the data there and you want to access it, it's still possible, because you can query data as an external table from BigQuery. Okay, what about the cost control options? Because as I mentioned earlier, there are soft ways like the monitoring alerts, because with Stackdriver monitoring, you can monitor the statements, the data amount that users are running. You can set a threshold and get immediate alert on that, or even you can monitor the newly inserted bytes as well. What about the hard limit? You can set quota on that information, on that topic as well. You can set it on GCP project level or on user level as well. I really recommend to do that for individual users, because sometimes it can happen that they are cross-joining big tables together, and in this case, the cost will be really high. But you have to consider to do so if on case of service accounts, because in this case, if you are not monitoring closely your quotas, then this can stop production systems as well. And the last thing what I wanted to mention, so how can you get this information together, and what can you do there? So in BigQuery, there is an information schema what you can check. This is a metadata table which can be queried directly from BigQuery. So it's pretty easy, because it has a specific schema what you can use, and it's up to date. There are data for the last 6 months, for instance, if we are speaking about the jobs. So you can get information about the BigQuery jobs that you are running, the queries, the slot usage, the datasets, tables, and so on. And also there are pre-made Data Studio dashboards as well, like the system table reports that you can see there in the chart. There are other charts as well in that report, but don't have the space to put it here. So if you want to analyze your slot usage and you want to decide how to what is the best for you, what is the best pricing model, then you can check this. If you want to go a little bit deeper, for instance, you want to analyze for the tables that what are the most used columns, and is my partitioning okay, or should I change it, or how should I partition my table, then you can use Zeta-SQL, which is an analyzer framework. It was published by Google. It's an open source tool. But it takes a little bit more time to analyze all of the queries and aggregate the statistics from there. So if the question comes that you want to build or buy this solution, then this is the way how you can build it by your own. But if you want to consider the buy option as well, Gergely will show you a quick demo about our Rabbit product, what we did around this topic.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to show the actual product because I'm pretty sure that the live demo is not going to work. So because all of the live events are not working. Oh, maybe like this. Okay, so this is this is what we've put together with some of our customers already, close ties. So what we have done so far is that we use these kind of consultancies and automated all of these recommendations as much as we could, and used all the data that we could to provide a nice product for these kind of problems. As you can see here, there are these recommendations is already showing you some kind of possible savings. The grouped queries are already there, the accounts and tables. My favorite feature in the tables part is that you can check out how the I'm trying to do a mirrored screen mousing. So in one particular table using the Zeta SQL, you can check out how the column usage was, for example, in your BigQuery. And you can check out how the select and the where statements were used with that particular columns. This is great for partitioning. When you're trying to decide how to partition your table, then you obviously need to check the where statement. So, for example, here the timestamp is something that you would like to base your partitioning on. So yeah, this is Rabbit that we have put together for these FinOps, using all of these experiences that we have collected, and Zoltán showed one of the case studies that we put together. And so I don't wanna do too much advertisement on that. So let's do questions. Yeah, please feel free to take a photo and hit us up on email if you have any further questions. But I guess we are going to have some Slido questions as well.
Yes, we already have two, so I will also read it for those of you who can't read the tiny font. The first one is, when deciding between on-demand and flat-rate pricing models, how do you think about calculate with indirect costs such as instance maintenance, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Let me, yeah.
I let Zoltán
Yeah,
answer the questions.
Just a indirect cost. Yeah, so basically, I think this is a different question if you are thinking about the maintenance, because BigQuery is a managed service, so mainly you don't have to care about the maintenance cost because it's managed. So in this case, you don't have to consider there isn't any difference. The only thing is that that you constantly have to check your slot usage, because if you are using too much slot, then it can cause that maybe your queries will be slower. So if you are having some really important queries or pipelines actually at the background that you want to run, then it's what we are recommending is that that you can separate the important pipelines and queries into a different project. You can give their dedicated slots. So in this case, for instance, ad hoc analysis can't affect production pipelines. So maybe this is only the one difference what you have to check when you are switching from on-demand to flat rate pricing.
All right, we're moving on to the second question, and if you guys have any questions, you still have time to post it on Slido. Here it goes. Is your solution dynamically changing or fixed based on historical data? What about e-commerce companies with varying data income like Black Friday?
Yeah, it's dynamically changing. So this is what we did. What we are doing here, that we are asking for access to your infrastructure. Basically, we want to get only read-only access. We are also reading at the background the information schema, what I mentioned earlier. We are using the monitoring service and stuff like that. But this is live, and yes, if there are Black Fridays, then at the background we are using also, for instance, BigQuery and Google services which are scaling. So hopefully we will scale as well with you.
All right. And if there are no more questions, then thank you very much for your presentation. A round of applause for our presenters, Zoltán and Gergely.